Hey everybody, it's the 13th Wolfman. You know what? I owe you all an apology. I had no control over what happened at the beginning of this month. I said I was going to make more videos because I really enjoyed doing the 31 days, and that's the plan. But last Friday, what was last Friday? The 4th, the 5th, somewhere around there. Last Friday at roughly around 9:30 my time, power went out. 9:30 at night. Well, now that's not unheard of. Power going out, I mean, it happens to everyone once in a while. But this time we lost it for more than 80 hours. So we didn't get power back until Tuesday morning. So, no power, no lights, no computer, So sorry about that. So this is the first video, that I made since we've been back, and it's another midnight movie review. One of the things I do when we do lose power is I pull out a book, and it's always the same book. I've never read this thing from cover to cover. I kind of like read a little, and then I put it down, and then the next time power goes out, I pick up where I left off. And the book is the Zombie Movie Encyclopedia. Now I'm bringing this up because today the movie that I'm going to talk about was actually in here, and I actually had it on my DVR. And that is I Was a Teenage Zombie. In that book, they claim that it's one of the worst movies ever made. It's just pure garbage. There's nothing good about it. And I'm like, okay, well, when we get power back, I am going to watch I Was a Teenage Zombie because I know it's on my DVR. So we got power back, and I watched the movie. It's not that bad. Is it great? No. Is it utter garbage that just shouldn't even be out at all? No. This movie feels like a trauma film. In fact, they mention Lloyd Kaufman in the movie. I don't think it was made by Troma, but it was made in the vein of Troma, right? I Was a Teenage Zombie. We have 5 friends that are always hanging out together. Dan and Rosencrantz and Lieberman and a few others, Gordy. And at the beginning of the movie, Gordy is trying to get some weed. He wants to get some weed to take to the school dance, and he's asking his friends to chip in to help buy it. Well, they go to one local pot dealer, and he doesn't have any. It's dry because of some big screw up that happened. They want to buy, I think, was it a quarter pound? That's a lot of weed. So the place is dry because some weed that was coming in out of the country wound up in a different part of the country. It wound up on the West Coast, over in San Diego. And so no one has any weed. So they come across this guy named Mussolini, who kind of looks like, he's kind of like a low-budget Danny Trejo. He just has that vibe, And Mussolini, he was in charge of the big screw-up that got the weed sent to the West Coast. So he now owes his boss, to start out $3,000. He owes him more, but that's just what he's entitled to pay him right now. So he's out and he's trying to sell whatever stuff he can, whether it's seeds and stems and, brown, really bad brown weed or whatever. So he sells these kids a bag of weed, and it's really, really bad. And so they're like, hey, we want our money back. And he's like, no, I don't have your money. You're not going to get it back. And they get into a fight and accidentally kill Mussolini. You know. So what they do is they, they're teenagers. They're worried about getting caught. What's going to happen? Oh my God! So they throw them into the river with a rock wrapped around them. Turns out that the river is radiated. Yeah, you see where we're going with this? This is very Troma-esque. And Mussolini comes back as a zombie, but he's angry and just wants vengeance on the people that killed him. So the guy starts going around, trying to kill the people that killed him. And Dan, the leader of the 5 friends, he accidentally gets killed, so they throw him in the river to bring him back as a zombie to take on Mussolini. You see where this is going? Okay, that's where I'm going to stop. But let's just talk about the movie. The acting's not bad. It's not great. No one's going to win an Oscar, but it's not bad. I actually enjoyed the acting. The plot's okay. Here's the thing. Between the time that Mussolini dies and comes back as a zombie, the movie kind of drags at the beginning because not a whole lot's going on. We're getting to know the characters. That's the thing. They're really trying to throw in a lot of character development at you so that you know who these characters are and want to care for them. That's great, but at the same time, not a whole lot happens. It's the 1980s and they're hanging out at a soda shop. I was a teenager in the 80s. I don't remember soda shops being around. I mean, there were ice cream shops like Baskin Robbins and Dairy Queen, stuff like that, but I do not remember there ever being a soda shop around. But that might be an East Coast thing. I was born and raised up in the Pacific Northwest, so I just don't remember it. We had a place called Farrell's, but that was just a giant chain. It wasn't really a soda shop. That being said, kind of went off on a tangent there. Sorry about that. But yeah, the acting's okay. The effects are there's one scene where the effects are like so obvious but it adds charm to this movie. I actually really like this movie. They said it was a terrible movie in the book. I would give this I'm gonna give it 1 3/4 chainsaws. It's not an average horror film, but it's not the bottom of the barrel movie. I really enjoyed it. This is definitely on the Brother Max scale of watching with friends. This is a 2 on his scale. But if you do watch it alone, I think you'll enjoy it just as much if you were to watch it with friends. Is it a horror classic? No. Does it add anything new to the horror genre? Not really. But the story's there, and that's the main thing for me when it comes to like horror movies. Does it have a good story? Because if it just feels like a bunch of clips strung together, then it's not that good. But if they're actually trying to get something across, okay. Here's the thing about these kids, and I keep calling them kids, and they're not. They look like, the whole thing is that at the beginning of the movie, Dan is sitting in class, and he's not paying attention when Gordy comes up to a window and kind of like says, Dan, and Dan skips out. I'm like, oh, okay, so they're in college. Because when you're in college, you're paying for the education. So whether or not you show up, that's your choice. If you choose to throw that education away, that's more than your choice. Here, it turns out they're in high school. I'm like, high school? They're not getting in trouble? What the hell? Oh, and one thing I have to say about this movie. Outside of the acting, the special effects, the plot, this movie has a phenomenal soundtrack. You've got everyone on it, man. I mean, the Violent Femmes, the waitresses, the Del Fuegos, who else? There were like, every time that they would, because I watch it with captions on every now and then, just just to make sure I hear everything. But when the captions are on, or the subtitles, or whatever you want to say, and every time they said it, I'm like, how they get all these big bands? These were big new wave bands at the time. The Waitresses, I Know What Boys Like. I mean, it just, there were, this is a soundtrack to, this is a new wave soundtrack, and if you want to get a really good soundtrack, it's this movie. You know, I was just completely blown away by how well some of these bands were. That being said, like I said, you know, 1 3/4 chainsaws for me. It's a 2 on the Brother Mac scale. And always like, subscribe, share, comment. Always want to know what you have to say. When you do subscribe, hit the bell. That being said, I am the 13th Wolfman. This is Midnight Movie Review. That is, I Was a Teenage Zombie, and I'm on the prowl.